Hey there, Possum Rob here. So I've had some time to reflect, watch the finale a couple of times, and I'm ready to give Picard Season 3 my final verdict. I rate this season... I ain't gonna make no excuses, this one's coming out later than I planned. But here we are, and let's talk about this finale. Honestly, it was okay. Not great, not terrible, it was okay. A far cry from the hot garbage that was Season 2, but not amazing either. Now I try to view this independently of Season 2 and not punish Season 3 for 2's transgressions like some kind of Klingon thing. But as much as I love Star Trek and as important as it has been in my life, it don't get a pass when it comes to bad decisions on the part of the writers and directors and stuff like that. While we're on the subject of writers, let's talk about this guy, Terry Matalas, showrunner and main writer for Season 3. Did anybody else get the feeling that there are two Terry Matalases? There's no question this guy can write. He set up a lot of things early in the season, and all of them paid off rather neatly. Well, almost all of them. And with the exception of Raffi for some reason, he was pretty good at writing dialogue. So there are many times when Terry the writer was present. But it seemed like Terry the Star Trek fan showed up a lot too. And that Terry don't make great decisions. I felt like the fan service in this season should have been treated like grout. You spread a lot of grout in between the tiles. Too much even. Then you wipe off all the excess grout that ain't in between the tiles, and you end up with the perfect amount of grout. Terry the Trekkie spread all the grout. But it's like he really likes grout, so he don't wipe it off. And now the whole bathroom floor is just grout. And I guess no one was around to go, hey, you left all the grout on there. What's the matter with you? I mentioned this in the last thing. Less is more with this stuff. I love Walter Koenig. His character of Bester on Babylon 5 is one of my favorites. And I've always loved Chekhov. So I don't have a problem with the Federation president being a Chekhov played by Walter Koenig. And him being named Anton after the late Anton Yelchin was a great touch. But in the sea of other pointless fan service, it gets kind of lost. And that speech wasn't just a Chekhov reference, it was also a Star Trek IV reference, paralleling the distress signal from the Federation president about the whale probe. It's just too much. I'm gonna try not to dwell on this, I've griped enough about the fan service in this season, but I think it's justified since that's kind of what this season was all about. And there's times when it works. We'll get to that. But if they'd have wiped away all the fan service that didn't really have a point, the stuff that was left would have had a much bigger impact. And the bathroom floor would have looked much, much better. So let's talk about the Borg. As you know, I wasn't thrilled when they were revealed to have been the big bad this whole time. I feel like we've done the Borg to death at this point. And I ain't as big a fan of First Contact as a lot of yous are, and that's okay. You like it, that's fantastic. I think my main beef with it is, I've never liked that the Borg even have a queen. They're much scarier when they're a big collective brain with nobody you can negotiate with or who gets jealous or angry or whatever. But they didn't ask me, and they put a queen up in there. So if we're gonna have a queen, I gotta say, the situation with the queen and the collective in this show was pretty interesting. I like that she's all messed up from that whole Voyager thing, and she's had to cannibalize the other drones to sustain herself and all that. Kind of eerie and disturbing, and I thought it was pretty clever. I still say it don't make sense that the Borg forgot the modifications they did to Picard and needed his body back. If you wanted to do that, you'd have the Changelings be the big bad, and have them have found the dying or dead Borg and found out about those DNA changes from the cube's records or something. Then have them look for that code with the purpose of hacking the solids using that technology. Because Changelings hate them some solids, am I right? Same result, it's just that the Changelings are the ones pulling the strings. That would have made more sense to me, but whatever. I don't know if I buy that Jack goes from I'ma kill 'em all to I'm all in on Team Borg that fast. I don't know that we set up that motivation well enough for that not to seem really out of character. Yeah, I get it, he's a loner that wants a connection and all that, We don't really see that, we just hear people kind of assure us of that. But he just seemed too enthusiastic about ending the human race. That said, I thought the scene with Picard in there talking to him was really good, and Sir Patrick did some of his best work this season in that scene. I particularly felt the moment when he said that if Jack wasn't going to leave, then Picard would stay there with him. That was a very genuine parent kind of moment. Very nice. As for the assimilated, they kind of reminded me of the Daleks, always saying what they're doing. Eliminate the unassimilated. Retake command of Titan. Turn more of the lights off. I feel like a collective don't gotta talk to each other like that. But I get that we need to hear some stuff for the sake of the story. It just got really silly. Especially when Esma was just sitting in the captain's chair going, fire, 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 fire.
Fire. Fire. Fire.
Like the guy with the fire button didn't know they were supposed to be firing otherwise? Oh, you want me to fire? Okay, I fired. Yeah, I fired. You want me to fire again? Oh, okay, I fired. You don't have to keep saying it like Beavis over there. You can just tell me fire all the time and I'll fire all the time. That's all it's got to take. I'm over here firing. I'm pushing the... You see me pushing the button? I'm firing over here. And while we're on the subject of the Titan, you know how in Raiders of the Lost Ark there's been this theory about how Indy does all this stuff and it don't change nothing? The Nazis' plan still goes off without a hitch? In fact, the one thing he affects is they find the Ark faster. Did you notice that the Titan did the same thing? Not a single thing they do changes a thing. In fact, if, once they had retaken the Titan, they had just cloaked and went off and hid somewhere, it would have been better. Because them doing all them strafing runs really probably killed some people that were about 15 minutes from being back to normal anyway, you know? I know they didn't know that at the time, but the thing about being a writer is you have control of all the stuff that happens. So maybe figure something else out for them to do. And while I thought the scene with the cook guy was pretty funny, Seven and Raffi are both much better pilots than this guy. Why are they fine with sitting in chairs doing nothing while this guy's the one flying the ship? Especially at a time like this. Is sitting in that chair really that important? Seven can't command while she's behind a wheel? Seems like an important situation and you want the best person you have flying the ship, you know? Weird decision, and really is only made so we get the funny thing with the cook. I'm all about the funny, but come on. And speaking of flying ships, let's talk about the Millennium Falcon run. Seriously? We picked all the Star Treks clean and had to start lifting from Star Wars now? That wasn't no homage. That was plagiarism. That would get them a copyright strike on the YouTubes. I didn't like nothing about that sequence. The giant Enterprise D suddenly nimble and maneuverable as an F-16, Data's weird and out-of-place giddiness, Beverly Crusher being a suspiciously good tactical officer, which I don't mind on its surface, but it was out of nowhere. No motivation, no explanation, nothing. That strange argument about Data's gut, it was all this weird scene that just felt like it wasn't very well thought out, or one of them things where, like the music in 2001, you know how it was supposed to be a stand-in for the real music, and Kubrick just ended up using the stand-in classical stuff as the real music? It felt like this scene was the first draft, and they were going to flesh it out, clean it up, take out the blatant Return of the Jedi stuff, and put in something more original. But I don't know, they just didn't get around to it, or ran out of time and just went with it. This is an example of Terry the Trekkie being left unattended with the typewriter for too long. And at the end, when the ceiling blows off of the big Borg room, like, we're still in space, right? How come everybody's so cool with just hanging out in their street clothes, exposed to space? Even if they're far enough into Jupiter's atmosphere, that thing's pretty much just hydrogen and helium. Yeah, have fun breathing that. Your suffocation noises will be hilariously squeaky. I do like that Riker's emotional farewell to Troy made her able to find where he was. That was nice. I think the frequency of use of the word Imzadi could have been taken down a notch in the season as a whole, though. That grout thing again, right? Even the show itself had that criticism.
I've missed you, Imzadi.
Imzad, I should have taught you another word.
But it didn't seem to make a difference. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and come up with a better version of this. There's that writer's strike going on after all, right? It was just so weird seeing Star Trek ripping off Star Wars. Honestly, my favorite part of this episode was the denouement. I liked seeing how things played out for everybody at the end. They overdid it a little bit, but for the most part, Data's therapy session was fun, and I liked Riker joking around about it with Deanna afterwards. I liked that Beverly ended up Admiral of all medicine or whatever, and that they addressed that there could easily be still changelings around, and they had an answer for that. I liked that Seven was given command of the Titan, although I'm not sure we should have a captain and an exec who are or were dating each other. We don't need to be ripping off the Orville here, too. And honestly, the best part was at the bar. I love these characters, and it was great seeing them all hanging out and having a good time, getting some rapport without the universe crashing down on them. And we got Sir Patrick doing some Shakespeare. I wouldn't have minded that scene going on a little longer, to be honest, but it was a good way to close things out with the poker game. Before we get to the predictions, we got to talk about the Enterprise G. Couple of thoughts on that. First of all, did anyone else expect the Titan to have been renamed the USS Picard? Don't get me wrong, I'm glad they didn't, but it sure looked like that's what they were setting up there. Second, what happened to the F? Don't get me wrong, I wasn't a fan, but we don't even acknowledge that it got destroyed or what happened to it at all. It doesn't really even show up in the finale, alive or dead. It was an Enterprise. A brand new one at that, and we're just supposed to be okay with it kind of doing an Irish exit and nobody talking about it? What the heck happened there? Third, the Titan is an exploratory vessel, and the Enterprise should be an exploratory vessel. So I'm good with them renaming the Titan to the Enterprise. I just like my Enterprises to be on the larger side, comparatively speaking. I know the original would be much smaller than the G, but at the time it was the big boy. Well, aside from the Federation-class dreadnoughts, but those are of dubious canon, so the point stands. But I really like the look of the Neo-Constitution class, despite the weirdly antiquated saucer design, so all in all, I'm happy with the Enterprise G. Oh, and one more thing. Q. That really felt like one of those things J.J. Abrams put in Rise of Skywalker to sort of give the finger to The Last Jedi. Q showing up and saying, "Pfft, I'm not dead," was kind of a finger to Season 2. That being the case, I'm on board with it. So, didn't get many predictions, but let's run through the ones we did get. Evelyn Goodson writes, I love this guy. She's talking about me there. I love you too, Evelyn. Did you like the video yet? You want to go down and... Thank you, you're beautiful. I think the good Borg from Season 2 will save the day. Yeah, you'd have thought they would have at least played some part in this whole thing. At least given a warning or some kind of a tip-off about how to defeat the OG Borg or something. But not a peep. Went through all that Season 2 nonsense and for what? Nothing. Indy Tiger says, my prediction for the finale is this. There is an unnetworked station in each of the ships of the fleet, secretly placed there by orders from Daystrom/Data who noticed something off in fleet orders. It can be used to overwrite the network. Jack is used to overcome the assimilation of the crews, and the older officers are told by Captain Picard, where the station is in each ship. So that's my prediction. You know, you're really right about that Captain Dunsel remark. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, here's Spock to explain it to you.
Dunsel, Doctor, is a term used by midshipmen at Starfleet Academy. It refers to a part which serves no useful purpose.
Picard had really been kind of ineffective and really looking pretty feeble this season. However, he turns it around in the finale, and he really seems more like the back-in-the-day Picard again, which I was very happy about. Yeah, I was looking for more cooperation from the older crew members across the fleet, too. A cooperation thing to juxtapose the way humans work together with the way the Borg do it, but they really made it into an Enterprise alone against the Borg thing, which is fine, I guess. But all the stuff going on at Earth just seemed like it didn't really matter. So, how did your possum do with the predictions? Well, let's take a look. Jack seems lost to the Borg Queen, but has a sudden and unmotivated I fight for the users heel face turn out of nowhere at the end for a literal deus ex machina. Well, kind of, it wasn't unmotivated, but as I mentioned before, the conversation between Picard and Jack that ended up turning him around seemed kind of rushed. Or, I don't know, Didn't seem like it was making a lot of progress until the end, and then it made all the progress suddenly. It would have been nice for that conversation to have gone on a little longer, and for there to be a lot more of a build-up and a sense that Picard is chipping away and getting through to Jack eventually. So, not exactly unmotivated, but the motivation was a little lacking. I'll give that one half credit. Raffi and Seven become John McClane's running around the Titan's Jeffries tubes, finding the rest of the oldies and setting up a radio-free Starfleet to coordinate with resistors on the other ships. Yeah, me and Indy Tiger are on the same page here. I wanted to see a lot more coordination between the ships during the Earth fight. Raffi and Seven can't be the only ones that were doing pretty good at resisting the assimilated people. So figuring out some way that they could communicate with the other ships and start coordinating some sort of attack or an attempt to get control back of the fleet, or at least hamper their attack on space dock, would have been a nice touch. But in the end, it was just a handful of people on one ship who were giving the Borg any trouble at all out of the entirety of Starfleet. And I just don't know that that would be the case. Shelby ain't dead, but will sacrifice herself into F in a ramming speed kind of thing. On second thought, I give it a 50-50 that it's actually the D that Blaze of Glory's into the Borg ship. One of them is going to do it, though. Well, apparently we still lost the F, so I don't know what happened there. There wasn't anything around for it to smash into, so I'm going to say this one probably was incorrect. But again, it's weird that we don't know. Borg Queen is still carrying a torch for Data, and she's going to try to get him to join her or something. Maybe that's when Lao or Sung shows up, and maybe a return to the White Room in Data's head. Now, in this one, at least they acknowledged it. Data did say that he had a history with the Borg. But that's all we got out of that. It's weird to me that we never went back to the whole Lao and Sung in Data's head thing. They mentioned it when they first found Data, and then that was it. We'll lose an original cast member. My money's on Picard. Yeah, I mean, Terry Metalis is a super fan. He's not going to kill one of these guys. I really should have known that. Jack has joined Starfleet in an epilogue, probably on that weird straight-to-commander scholarship 7 of 9 got. Yeah, he didn't go straight to commander, but he did go straight to ensign without needing to go through the academy, so I'm going to call this one a win. So all in all, not what I'd call a winning record, but not a shutout either. And honestly, some improvements. In the end, there was a lot of stuff I liked about this season, and despite the stuff I didn't like so much, I still give Season 3 of Picard a solid 3 out of 5 stars. Now, please, Star Trek gods, leave the Next Generation people alone. This has been Possum Rob watching stuff with you. Come back later and we'll watch more stuff. You'll love it. What did you guys think of this season of Picard now that the finale is out? Do you think there'll be a new show with the Enterprise G, Seven, Raffi, Jack, Sydney, Esma, and all them other people from the old Titan? Let me know down there in the comments. If they do, I'll give it a shot. Even though they did my boy Shaw dirty, I'd still like to see what they come up with. In the meantime, we still got Strange New Worlds, huh? If you're digging my little show here, help me out, support the channel, and subscribe, if you would be so kind. And like that thumbs up button down there so as I know you dug the episode. My Star Trek The Original Series episode reviews will be starting pretty soon, so do the bell thing so as you get a notice when they drop. Those are going to be fun. You're not going to want to miss that. So until next time, Possum friends are awesome friends. Take it easy, alright? Later.